All right. Okay, so this is Thursday. It means it's the lab day. Our whole goal today is get through the lab and work on that. And at the end of the lab, hopefully you got your Raspberry Pi all connected, software installed, running. You've got it hooked up to your breadboard, and we have a really basic circuit checking out that we have electricity going to the breadboard, and we have a light going on your circuit board there. So that's our whole goal today. I think some of you will get done early because, again, last week we got a little head start. So if you have your supplies in, you've got some of this stuff already connected and set up already. And so if you get done early, you can take off. That's all we're doing today. But again, our goal is by the end of the day, we'll get everyone with a Raspberry Pi with installed with the breadboard and a light going on there. So again, going to Unit 2, go to the lab and start that. Now the first step is to identify the parts of your Raspberry Pi. You have this, and we want you to draw a circuit diagram, or not a circuit, just label all the parts here. If you go to Wikipedia, they can help you with that down. If you keep scrolling down forever in Wikipedia, the bottom they'll have things like, so this is like the Pi 3 or the Pi 4. I have a Pi 5 now because I just bought it, and it'll tell you what things are. Now I don't want you to just print this off. I want you to draw out your own version of this here. So you can either draw it out paper pen, which I think is good, and I don't need it neat or anything like this. I just want you to go through the act of drawing it out to help you remember where things are. So that if you want to do it in Paint or some other program, that's fine also. But again, it helps with your memory if you actually physically interact with the drawing in some way. So again, my suggest way, just get out a blank piece of paper, just draw a rectangle, draw some boxes, and start labeling things on it, something like that. And then again, you have to submit something here. So I just want a picture of it. And again, if you just do it on paper, just use your phone or something like that, take a picture of it and add it, paste it in here so that if you're doing it with something else, do a screenshot of some here. So that's your first part. So get your pies, start working on this first part, and then we'll start, just go through the rest of the parts and we'll help you out as we go here. Okay, some people are asking how to identify your Raspberry Pi, and particularly for the online. For in-class students, you can just call Alec or people over there, and they can help you find the label on the Pi. But for the online students, I'm just going to show you how it is. So on your Pi here, right up by the 4 pins, there'll be a little wording. So like this one says right up there, I don't know if I can get it actually in focus. Oh, here, I don't know, I just have to stop sharing. That's what I need to do. Okay, so, oops. So yeah, here's the Pi will be right here for that stuff. So let me highlight. And then again, Pi 5. This is a Pi 5, and again, it has a different label up here, and it'll say Pi 5 for this. So that's all you have to do is make sure you're looking at one. And then once you figure out what you have, if you have a keyboard one, they have the Pi 400s are here, but all the rest are in Wikipedia. Just scroll down to get to this section where they have the circuit boards, and then just again do some basic hand drawing of this so you can learn the parts of your Pi as the first part. Okay, So once you have your diagram done and put in here, you want to set up your hardware. And again, some of you got this started last week, and you want to do the same thing here. So again, you might have a case to put your Raspberry Pi in. Sometimes they have these little heat sinks, these little metal things that dissipate heat. They're optional. And some of them come with a fan, but the fan isn't really going to be that helpful to us because we'll always have the top off of it. So if you do have a case, you probably don't want to put the top on it because in a sec, we're going to want to plug in this ribbon cable into it. So we need access to that ribbon cable spot for that. So again, let me switch out of here. Let me stop sharing and do this. So again, you have your Raspberry Pi. I've got a mouse and a keyboard plugged into the USB ports here. And then I'll put the power supply in here. And these are the mini HDMI ports. So I want to plug in an HDMI port. Like here's an HDMI port. I plug that in here. I'm not going to do that right now because I only have one screen up right now. And then again, you want to plug in your power supply. My power supply has a little button to turn it on and off. I'm going to turn it off initially and plug it in. If you don't, it'll just go on. You've got to watch with this. These metal parts are okay to touch, but try not to touch the pins once this is plugged in. There's a little current going through there, so you can get a little bit of a shock. Nothing deadly, but you can get a little shock there. So again, you want it here, and then again, you'll turn on your power supply. Your red light should come on. Older ones will have a red and a green light. This one just has a red light that turns to green as it boots up here. And then you should get it through and you want to log in. It should be a way we want to eventually get you connected to Wi-Fi and do an update on it. So we'll see how that goes in just a sec, but I just want to get you set up there. So see if you can get your thing booted. The next thing we're going to want to do is connect up this breadboard to our system for this. Now the breadboard comes with a T adapter. So like this is kind of a T adapter here, and then a cable here, a ribbon cable. So this is the ribbon cable, and the ribbon cable goes into the key adapter, and there's a little notch in the ribbon cable, and there's a little notch in the T adapter. They have to go together. So the notches have to line up. See if I can get that here. So this notch has to line up. Let's see if I can show that notch here, not very well. So this notch has to line up there. And then once you get the notch lined up, it should slide in and just kind of wiggle it back and forth to get it seated nice and tightly. And then the other side has to plug into your Raspberry Pi. Now, there's not a notch to tell you which way it should go in. So you should look at the diagrams on the in the lab. In the lab, it'll show you this diagram. And notice the ribbon is going out of the Raspberry Pi. So now here, the ribbon's going out. So if I look at this one, I'm going to turn this off again real quick. So yeah, I like to do, you should do this ribbon adjustment with it off here. So I want it to go this way where the ribbon's going away from the Pi and not this way where the ribbon's going across the Pi. So the ribbon should be going away from the Raspberry Pi, and you can do it. Now watch your pins here. Some of them may be bent a little bit in different, here on your Pi and stuff. So watch for bent pins here. If I look down these pins, I can see this pin is bent a little bit. And if it doesn't go in the hole and I press it, it's going to bend some more. So you can just bend these back with your fingers here or little pliers. Try to get them straight. So, and then here, same with your Raspberry Pi. look at the pins here, make sure they're nice straight. And so that when you slide on your ribbon cable, it should watch the little holes in it. You might need help for this. You just have to generally do this once. It should slide all the way in, and then again, just kind of wobble it back and forth until it seats down on this. And then we want to attach the other side to your board here. There. Now, some of them will just have the central pins in it. Some of them will have the central pins and then power pins on both sides. So see what kind of one you have. If you have the power pins on both sides, they need to go into like the first row of, or the second row, any row of this plus and minus row over here. There. And again, this, you just got to kind of push this in and seat it to get it in there. And again, we can help you if you're in the lab here. I'm going to take this ribbon. I already have the other one in. I'm just going to switch it over to this one now. So in our final lineup, we should have our Pi, ribbon cable, and then our breadboard. And then we'll start for the next 6 weeks, we'll be wiring things up on this breadboard every week. Okay, so if you have trouble with that, call a TA over and we'll get you going on that. A couple notes. I'm going to walk you through then how to make the next connections. One thing to note is that, again, you should have this document open and you should make your own copy of it so you can paste your pictures in here and then submit it. So again, remember, once you get the lab open, just do a file, make a copy to make your own copy, and then you can paste your pictures or whatever you need in it, and then submit that here. So again, for part A, you drew that picture and you either submitted a screen or a screenshot or a picture of it here. So again, I go in here and paste that in here. B, we're starting to plug in our keyboard and mouse and that sort of stuff. So now I maybe even have just my keyboard and mouse set up here. Here's my Zoom. Here. So maybe I just do a screenshot. And again, you can just take a picture with your phone if you want, or decide how you want to do this best. I often think just take a picture of your phone and put it in here, paste it in there is fine. So of just that. And that is for part B. Part C, we're going to boot up the operating system, get the operating system installed there. So you'll need to have an SD card with Raspberry installed here. Now in class here, we've got Raspberry Pi on SD cards already, so you can just get one of those. If you're an online student, you have to download this Raspberry Pi. Well, sometimes your Pi will come with an SD card pre-formatted. Otherwise, you can download this Raspberry Pi imager or read the directions, and it's not too hard to do. If you have trouble with that, just let me know, and I can walk you through it on Zoom or just send you an SD card or something like that. Then you're going to power up your Raspberry Pi, turn on your power to it here. Oops, I haven't been sharing. I'm sorry, my problem here. Okay, so we want to power up your Raspberry Pi, and it should boot up. Should follow the Raspberry Pi directions here. The first time you boot up, it'll ask you to create a username and a password. Just create a username and password. Just remember what it is. It's not that secure. So if you just want to write it down in your notes, that's fine. I mean, this is just a Raspberry Pi, and it doesn't really, you won't have any secure information on this, hopefully, for now. And then you also want to get it connected to Wi-Fi here. So, and again, now it used to be we had it manually connected to Wi-Fi, but nowadays when you first set it up and walk through the setup procedure, it should ask you to connect to Wi-Fi. And on campus here, did you guys connect to Storm's Wi-Fi? StormsNet? What's it called? Yeah, Storm's, yeah, wireless. and then use the Scholastica 1912 for the password there. So, and again, if you're home, you can connect up that. There is an icon at the top right where you can switch the Wi-Fi, but there's a browser on the internet that you could try. Eventually, we will be opening up our labs on our Raspberry Pis and using them. So one of the challenges in the labs is that if once you connect up your Pi and open it up, you won't have access to your Windows machine here, because you'll have your screen, your keyboard and stuff will be set there. So you might, I'll try to keep the instructions up here, but you can also just switch over to your Pi, do everything, take your pictures with your phone, and then switch back to Windows, paste your pictures in, and then you'll be done. Again, the next thing we talked about is connecting up the breadboard here. So again, we should have that connected for this. And then we want to talk a little bit about how breadboards work. So with most breadboards here, let me stop sharing and show you this. Well, let's show you on the screen here. There are rows of 5 in the middle and long rows, alleys on each side here for that. And what happens is that all the holes that are in one of these rows of 5 are all interconnected. So if I plug something in at one of these and in another one on this, make that even, then they're interconnected. Not here left to right, but vertically. One of these columns is all interconnected. Now there's this chasm here. This breaks the connection. All the pins here are interconnected. So these 5 pins are connected and these 5 pins are connected, but they're not connected to each other. So they're separate circuits. So that's the middle rows are connected this way. The outside rows, the alleys, go the other direction, and they're all connected. Like all these red pins are connected, all these blue pins are connected. And generally, we'll have power going up and down these pins. So one of these rows will be positive, and one of them will be ground or negative here. And we'll often use that in our circuits here. So at times, you'll see diagrams they'll show you ground going here and wiring this up, or going from the like the pin with 3 volts. We won't necessarily be doing this because we'll have this configuration and we'll do this. So I'm going to unshare real quick here. So again, this this version of the T bracket has a +5 and 3.3 volt area. It has a plus and a minus. So that means all this first thing that's labeled 5 volt plus, these are all 5 volts here along this row here, what I would call the blue row. And then along the red row here is all negative or neutral. And so that connection is already made from here over that. And same here, 3 and 5 volts over and neutral over here, plus and minus. Now, some of the pins, some of the T brackets don't have those. They're just normal T's. And so then you'll have to wire up your own connection here. So you should look at your connection and see. Let me go back here again. So you can see on this diagram, this blue T bracket doesn't have anything that connects up to these alleys. And so we run little short wires here, one from the 5 volts to one of these and one from ground to one of these. So whatever ones you connect up, then once we have this, then all the way along here, this top row will be ground. And since this red wire is running from 5 volts to here, all the second row here, all that will be 5 volts or plus. So one of these will be plus and one will be negative. So again, let me jump back here. And here it's already done, but if it wasn't, I would want to be looking here. There's a pin labeled 5 volts here. I'd want to, it's the first and second pin are 5 volts, and I want to run that over to here. to do that connection. And similarly, I want to do that for the grounds. I'd want to find a ground. Now there's the ground pin there. There's also some other ground pins around. I can use actually any ground. So I see this one's labeled ground, and I'd want to connect that. But I don't have to do this because my T-brace has it already done with this plus and minus 5. So you can see what one you have it if you need to add those wires in here. And then we're going to try to do our connection here. Let me stop sharing again, or let me share again and show you this. So there's this little circuit we want to do here. So again, we've got 5 volts going here, going along this road, and then the red wire shows 5 volts going here to an LED there. So you want to grab an LED. It doesn't have to be a red one. And then we want to then go to our resistor here and then background. So let's try to do that. Let me stop sharing and just do that here. So again, I'm going to grab a red wire. It doesn't matter what wire it has. I'm going to go from my plus 5 here, anywhere along there. I'm going to go way out here, I think, just so it's out here. And I'm going to go to any pin out here, any row. And when I do that, it'll mean that any row along here will be in the circuit. Then I'm going to find an LED. They have 2 wires. One wire is longer than the other, and that becomes important. This is a red one. This is a 2-wire blue one. It doesn't matter what color I use here. But again, one wire is longer than the other, you'll see. Now, watch out. Some of you may have these 3 or 4 wire LEDs or sensors that look like LEDs. They'll have a little bulb at the end. We don't want those. Put those back. We only want a 2-wire one here. And then we want to stick our wires in here. And one of the pins has to go into the same row as your power supply went. And another pin somewhere else in another row. I'm going to put that in here. So I've got that in. And again, the one pin is in the same row as this power supply. And then I'm going to grab a resistor here. We want about a 200 ohm resistor, which are most common ones. You probably have some of those. They're color coded. You can try almost any sort of resistor will work in this one. Some of them will be tan colored, and some of them will be blue colored. That doesn't matter. What matters is the pattern of colored stripes. That tells you what strength they are. But again, almost any sort of resistor will work in here. So I'm going to go from here to here somewhere to continue my circuit for that. And again, my resistor has to be plugged into the same row as my LED. So now my power is coming here on the red wire. I can follow it over to this row, and it goes into the LED, goes up and goes down, and then I can follow it over in the same row to my resistor goes up. And now the last thing I have to do is connect my resistor to ground. So I get some wire. And again, the diagram probably shows it in black, but you can use any sort of wire. The wire color doesn't matter. So I'm going to use a white one here and go to ground, which is this one on mine. Now, if I get that all set up well, and then I turn on my power, my LED should come on here. Now, if your LED doesn't come on, LEDs have a direction, the longer pin and the shorter pin. You want the longer pin towards the power, but if you did it the other way around here, it won't come on. And again, you can check how this works and stuff. So you want to get this plugged in here and in the right holes. So, oops, not quite in the right holes. Let's try it again, in the right holes. So LED will come on. So when the power of the Pi is on, the LED will come on. So that is our goal today, is get our little LED on. So I'm going to talk about one more thing because I see some of you are good here. As a bonus challenge, you can try to insert a button. We'll be doing buttons next week, so it's a good practice for that here. So buttons will have 2 or 4 pins, and the 4-pin ones are kind of hard to tell which direction they should go and get them in there. But we have a lot of these 2-pin buttons here, and we can put it anywhere in the circuit so that it's somewhere in the circuit. This puts it in before the LED. So the power comes here, goes through the button, and then goes to the LED. Here, it's after the resistor, goes to the resistor button, and then back to ground. Either one is fine for that. So I'm just going to do that real quick here. So here's my circuit. I got lots of room here. I'm just going to take off my power here, move it out of the way. And I'm going to button. Now I have a button with just 2 pins in it there. So I'm going to have 1 pin where the go in the same row as the LED where the power used to go there. So now my button's in there. And so 1 pin's in this row, the other pin's in that row, and I'm going to put the power in that row. If I can get, sometimes it's hard to get those wires in there. Now, if I turn on this, if I hit the button, the light will come on with the push button. It'll only come on when I click and unclick, click, unclick. So then you can control it that way. So feel free to try that out with this. And again, that's just a bonus activity. You don't, if not have to, but next week we will be using buttons. So it does let you check to make sure you have the button on. Stop this.